another edition of Trader Talk TV. Today we've got Stefan from ValueClick. Stefan, thanks for coming into the office.
My pleasure.
Stefan today is going to talk about multivariate targeting and particularly around behavioural targeting. Before we do that, let's talk about your role, Stefan. What exactly do you do at ValueClick and what's your sort of function?
Sure. I'm the Director of Data and Analytics for ValueClick for Europe. So I oversee all of the data that we gather as a company, how we target optimization, and also I help profile audiences to help clients understand who they're reaching and who's responding to a campaign. Okay.
So today we're talking about multivariate targeting, what exactly it means and how it works in terms of behavioural targeting. So let's just jot this out on the whiteboard and talk about multivariate targeting.
Sure. So I'll start by describing some of the ways of targeting people online initially. Yeah. So I'll do a level of sophistication. So at the very basic level, what people will do is pick by hand. So they'll have a list of behavioral segments, and let's say you're going to run a campaign for a cruise line. Yep. You might just go down a list of segments and pick attributes that have travel in them, and just target that. Okay. And run it, and that's fine. In our experience, that doesn't tend to work out very well because you don't know which data is actually going to perform for your specific audience. The next step up from that is to run a campaign like that and look at the conversion rate of each segment. So how many impressions are served each group, how many conversions you get, and then select the top performing ones and run the campaign against that. That works pretty well, it shows lift. The issue with that is you kind of ignore behaviors that you may not have thought of. So for example, if you're doing a home mortgage campaign, you might actually find that pet products correlates very highly with your audience. That's because in order to have a pet, people tend to want a house and have more space. Okay. The next step up from that is indexing. So that's actually done by a lot of large performance advertisers online. What you do is you look at people that are converting for a product or doing some action you're interested in, and then you will index them against the average internet user in that market. So anything that over-indexes, you target that, and you can then incorporate a lot of those learnings. The issue with that targeting based on an audience index is that you're actually kind of ignoring individual users. You're targeting segments of users. Yeah. So you don't know how bits of behavioral profiles actually interact, and you're ignoring the context of what site they're on. So one step above that is what we call multivariate optimization. So what that does is it looks at all of the different behaviors in a user's profile, and also the kind of content they're on, where they're from, their browser platform, all sorts of things, to get a holistic idea of who that user is, and actually determine that user's receptiveness to your campaign at that moment in time. Okay. So it's different from targeting segments of users. You're actually doing true one-to-one targeting. And so I'll describe a little bit how that works. Okay. So I'll stick with that cruise ship example. Yeah. So we have our cruise ship here, and that's our site, and we want to drive a bunch of users to this site and get them to purchase cruise ship tickets. I apologize for my drawing skills.
Yeah, look fantastic.
So you have a bunch of people. So again, if you were picking by hand, you would have just selected from a list travel, so it might be this person, this person, this person. Some might buy from the site, some don't. If you're doing audience indexing, what you'd be doing is looking at everyone that's purchasing from the site, and then you'd be finding people that you find out how they index above average, and you select people from this group that have that. So you might say, okay, these users all index above average, we're just going to serve ads to them. It's going to drive people to the site they're going to purchase. What that does, though, is it ignores interaction, and also it kind of locks you into a worldview where every single user in that group has the same value. You don't know who's more responsive and who's not. So what multivariate does is select a couple of people, and we'll pull out their profiles. So we'll have person A and person B. Here's a photo of person A. We don't actually have that. Here's person B. So for this cruise ship campaign, we may know that person A purchases flowers. He likes to visit hobby sites. We'll know that maybe he's in London. Time of day. His browser platform and what site he's on. So maybe he's on flowers.com. So for person B, maybe we'll know that she has purchased airline tickets in the past. She owns a house. She might be in Manchester. So we'll have time of day, platform, and we might see that she's on a site that's for a travel bureau. So maybe visit Costa Rica.
Yeah.
So if you look at this broadly, you can break this down into types of behaviors. So this is traditional BT targeting. If you're going to target travel, you'd pick airline and you'd select that group.
Yeah.
This is some geodata. Usually that's targeted separately, and people usually aren't looking at the interaction between where they are and their behavior profile. You'll have time of day, platform, and site. So what multivariate does is it actually starts off indexing the audience. So you'll profile the people that are converting on the site and find, for example, that maybe flowers over-indexes, airlines over-index. The next thing you'll do, though, is you'll want to figure out how they interact. So you'll take all of those different factors and regress them against each other. So you'll figure out how their location is related to that behavioral data, how the time is, platform, the site content they're on. Basically, you'll fold in all that context and look at the full behavioral profile to assign an individual likelihood of that user responding to this campaign for that specific impression. So we might determine that this guy has a 30% likelihood of responding, and person B has a 72% likelihood of responding. So with multivariate, what you'll do is say, okay, we have an individual user for a specific impression. We know a lot about this person. We know that they're different from each other. What we're going to do is actually value them differently when we're serving an impression. So we could actually bid more for person B and message person B more to get them to make that decision. Maybe message person A a little bit less. So it gives you control over how you're spending your media to drive that performance.
Right.
What it also does is instead of just targeting this group, maybe you'll find some people here that don't have a high likelihood, maybe like 16% likelihood. So we message them a little bit, just because you want to make sure that's on their mind and some of them will convert. So you can run your ad spend much more efficiently.
And is this a product that you have on the platform or on the solution you have?
Yeah, so this is how we serve our advertising.
Right, through the ad server.
So with ValueClick, half of our business is CPA. So anything we can do to improve efficiency and drive performance is good for us and good for our clients. So we spend a lot of time making sure this stuff works.
So this is a more efficient way to do behavioral targeting effectively.
Exactly.
And it's versus the traditional method of this spray and pray type of process.
Yeah, what this does is it'll actually identify responsive users and follow them around the course of their session online and message them at the right points of time.
Okay. Stefan, thanks very much. That was a very interesting overview of multivariate and how it relates to sort of behavioral targeting. So thanks for coming in today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And that was Trader Talk TV. See you next week.